Hello, hello. It's Chairidee Smith, Ms. Mogul, the founder of Mommies Creating Economies. Today is Tips Tuesday. The theme today is the state of the market and how you can begin to grow your profits and your portfolio in the current market. So, without further ado, let's jump right in and let's discuss what's happening in our local market. As many of you already know, the economy is opening back up. Greg Abbott issued a statement opening up the state of Texas again to do business. Now, it's at a modified level, but business is open again. But let's talk about those numbers and what have we experienced so far. The numbers are telling us that 1.3 million Houstonians have already filed for unemployment insurance. That is a staggering number, and we expect that number to climb. Now, let's talk about how those numbers now impact the housing market. There are a couple of opportunities to grow your portfolio as well as your profits, but we have to do this strategically. Let's talk first of all, before we talk about growing your portfolio, let's kind of get ourselves wrapped around what's happening with the local housing market. There are just right now a low inventory of properties on the market right now. If you look at what's happening with HAR, some of the sales are really down right now. And on top of that, interest rates are really, really low. Now, you may think this is a mix of the 2008 market, but not really. And that's what's so precarious about it. So, what this means in our current market is folks are not selling right now. They're choosing to stay put. This is primarily because of what we've experienced with the stay home orders with COVID-19. Also, this has a great deal to do with job losses and furloughs. So, folks are not vying to sell their homes or make any movements right now until they're sure what their economic situation is going to be. So, folks are not really putting their houses on the market right now. This would usually be a rush and a boom in the on market property sales, right? First time home buyer, new property sales, etc. But we're not seeing that largely because of COVID-19. Now, with the lower inventory and the lower interest rates, what this is really meant to do is kind of give some stability to the market right now, especially with, again, what's happening with job losses and folks filing for unemployment insurance. Again, the Fed lowered the interest rates prior to COVID-19 to ward off what many economists saw as a looming recession. Many of you will remember those discussions, trade wars, tariffs, etc. And so, what the Fed did was lower interest rates to continue building confidence in the economy, to hopefully keep folks buying and selling because America has a consumer based economy. The more folks buy and spend money, the better the market. When folks become more conservative with their dollars, we see a cooling of the market. We see home sales slow down, and we see the economy slowly begin to grind. If we're not careful, it grinds to a halt. We've almost experienced that with COVID-19, on top of what we were already experiencing prior to that with trade wars and with tariffs. But think about this now. The market is a bit precarious. Some folks are thinking this is a precursor to what we experienced in 2008, but not quite. And that's what's so precarious about it. Yes, we've seen a cooling of new home sales, and that's again primarily on market sales prices. We're not talking about off market properties. Now, off market, just as a caveat, off market properties are really where we investors hang our hats, and that's where our focus is. However, on market properties and on market conditions do spill over into off market conditions, and we'll talk about that. So, people are staying put, as I've already said. They're opting not to put their homes on the market right now. This is again due to job losses and furloughs, unemployment. So there's a lot of uncertainty with personal economies, and they're trying to balance their family's needs right now. And so we're seeing that kind of slow down the sales of on market properties. And then let's also talk about folks are still a bit wary of in face or face to face open houses. So with social distancing still the mandate and the condition of the day, it really has just kind of cooled off the market, on market sales prices right now. So that's something to think about. Now, as of today, and again, I stress as of today because as you know, the market could change with an announcement, right? As of today, the housing market is still relatively strong, believe it or not. We're still in a pretty good state of affairs. So, medium home prices have not plummeted as some doom and gloom folks have said. We have not seen that yet, but I put a pin there because we're going to come back and visit that. As a matter of fact, some of the models are showing that there are still some areas of growth in sales of new homes. So it just really depends upon your local market and what's happening there. But I can say in generalities, and generally speaking, the housing market is still in a relatively healthy place. Now, let's talk about that though. What does that mean if you're selling your property right now? If you're selling, now that things are opening up slowly again, and if you're considering selling your property, you want to make sure that you have a realtor or professional, if you're not doing it yourself, who is really savvy in how to sell a market, how to sell a property, I should say, in this kind of market. If I were you and I were using a realtor, I would ask that realtor, how did you survive the crash of 2008? How did you maintain home sales? What did you do to meet the needs of the market? You want someone who has, in my opinion, braved many of those cycles, and they can better strategically place your property on the market for a quicker sale. The last thing you want to do is have your property looming on the market for 30 days or more. 30 days really is kind of the ceiling of where we want to see that property come off. So I would really interview, really scrutinize who you're using and make sure that they are apt and ready to sell your property in this market. Now, here's the good news. If you choose to sell your property in this market, you can still make a profit. You really can. That's providing you don't have a lot of liens. I've talked to some folks who have had reverse mortgages, and that's had some impact on the sale of their property, etc. But if all things are good, right? And I say that, of course, upon condition, and you would have to evaluate that sale. But for the most part, the point I'm trying to drive home is that if you decide to sell your property in this market, you can still sell it at a profit. That's good news for the economy. Now let's flip that. If you're buying a property in this market, you really want to be cautious and know for real how much house can you buy, because you may be buying your house at the top of the market right now. You may be paying more than what the market will bear out at another time. So you have to weigh those things out. So when I say how much house can you buy, do you know your closing costs, property taxes, school taxes, moving costs, realtor fees, and the list can go on and on and on. So it's not just about coming to the table and signing the contract. Do you know how much house you can buy in this market? Now, here is the flip side of that. You may be awarded a mortgage. You may be approved for a mortgage in this market, but you have to know, given everything that is happening with the market and lending right now, lenders are going to revisit lending and how can they make up for some of the shortfalls that may have happened with folks who have taken on forbearances. So I say that to say, if you are buying a property in this market, you really and truly want to have some cash on hand and have some reserves for your mortgage. Don't just go in there with what you need to close the deal, because you have to look further ahead than that. Okay. So just a bit of advice there. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with forbearances, right? And this is a great segue into the investor conversation. Because of what is happening in the market right now, so many folks found themselves applying for forbearances. Forbearances are a useful tool, they're legal, and they help you out in some tight spots. That's true. However, you have to know that with a forbearance comes a responsibility. So, for all of those folks who have signed their forbearances and put it on the back end of the loan, That's typical. It happens all the time, and more than likely you'll pay that off, right? And you may see a few increases, small increases in your mortgage payment, maybe, maybe not. All of that is really specific to the lender. The point we want to drive home is that you don't have to come up with a lump sum of money now and you still can save your property. Now, the flip side of that is for those borrowers who did not negotiate that kind of forbearance. And let's say you received a 6 month forbearance from your lender, but that forbearance comes with a balloon payment in 6 months or whatever the term is. Essentially, what that is saying is that you will owe the lender 6 months worth of mortgage payments. And unfortunately, most Americans don't have enough cash on hand for 90 days, let alone a 6 month balloon payment. So many homeowners, if that was the negotiation, may find themselves in some really steep waters, troubled waters, trying to negotiate the maintenance of their home, and they may find themselves in a really precarious situation. Enter the investor. That's where you and I come in. Now, I see a few opportunities in the current market that I want to share with you. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive um, overview of what the market is. By no means. If you want an exhaustive overview, that's another conversation. I would encourage you to go to mommiescreatingeconomies.com, click on services, and schedule a pick her brain session. And we can really get into the meat of the market and where you specifically fit into that. This is a very general overview, just giving you kind of the pulse of what's happening in the market as well as in real estate investing. I also want to say that I am not an attorney, nor am I a financial planner. I am just a very savvy businesswoman who has experienced some wonderful successes. I know what I'm doing, but I have to give you that caveat because nothing is certain, right? So, wanted to give you that first of all. Now, let's dive in and see what the opportunities are because for every opportunity, there is a risk, but you get no reward without risk, right? So, let's embrace that. That's the market we're in. Here are a couple of opportunities as I see them now. And again, this is not exhaustive, it just kind of goes along with the conversation. Those who are in trouble prior to COVID 19 will more than likely find themselves in trouble post COVID 19, meaning when the market opens back up and things are trying to get back to what was some semblance of normal. Those same people may find themselves in trouble still, if not in a more delicate situation because of the forbearance for some of those reasons that I talked about. Here is the opportunity for you. Many of those folks will become pre-foreclosure leads for you, meaning that they were on the verge of foreclosure prior to COVID 19. So, certainly post COVID 19 or now in this market where the economy is trying to get back to some kind of movement, those folks may find themselves in need of a bailout of their mortgage. We call those in the industry pre foreclosure leads. Now, we personally love pre foreclosure leads because it removes a lot of the competition, right? And we still have an opportunity to get in there and make a really good profit and potentially get a really good property for pennies on the dollar, or sometimes no money down if you know how to do that. That's another discussion. So, here is a tip. Write this down. You need cash on hand and you need strategy for this market. Here are a couple of ways that I recommend that you get cash on hand. First of all, you can partner with someone. If you have credit and no cash, you then want to start getting some lists of investors together and partner on a deal. You will hear me say more times than not, a whole lot of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. So come in and partner on that deal. Now you want to have the right agreement in place to make sure that everything is equitable. That's another conversation. But please, please, please make sure your documents are in order and you're protecting your interest. Again, another conversation, but I threw that in for free. Um, you want to position yourself to have cash on hand. Here are a couple of ways that you can do that. If you don't go with a lender, a hard money lender, a conventional loan, etc., you can use 401ks. They are, if you take that money out and put it in the real estate market, I guarantee you, you can get 25 to 30% on your money depending upon the investment. There's nowhere in the market that house or that money is performing like that in the market. It just is not happening right now. So real estate could be that vehicle for you to get you some more robust returns on your investment. So consider that with your 401ks, IRAs, HSAs, ESAs. I also like using cash value from life insurance policies. You can also potentially take a partial withdrawal from your life insurance policy, reducing the death benefit, but having cash on hand, and you don't have to go and get approved for a loan or a hard money lender. So, those are some ways that you can come up with cash on hand to start positioning yourself to win in the market. Now, here is the tip for you. Write this down. You want to position yourself as a partner for lenders, a problem solver for at risk homeowners, and leads funnels for realtors. That is the prime real estate, if you will, for an investor right now. You want to be a partner to lenders. That means you find folks to help assume mortgages right now so that the homeowner doesn't default on their loan. You can find someone to assume that loan for the lender, right? And save that property, save that loan, bail out the troubled property owner, and the lender continues to get their monthly payment. That's a way to do that. Also, that goes into being a problem solver for potentially at risk homeowners. If folks are having a hard time making their payments, they will be more apt to have a conversation about you assuming that loan or taking it over and then helping them to move successfully out of that situation, hopefully saving their credit. So that's another conversation and a strategy that we could talk about. And if you want to talk about that, schedule the Pick Her Brain session again at mommiescreatingeconomies.com. Go to services, click on that, and we'll have that conversation. So that's an option that you can do. Now, here are a couple of ways that we could expand that strategy, right? As I've already mentioned, assume the loan for the at risk homeowner, creating a lease option or a sublease lease option where they, one, can continue to stay there and lease from you. Now, I do not recommend that because if the property owner was already in trouble prior to this situation, more than likely they're going to have trouble meeting that monthly payment, and it will only become a headache for you trying to now get rent from someone who's already having problems paying. So if I were you, I would help them relocate, assist them with their moving costs if you can, to get an apartment or wherever they feel comfortable going, assist them with maybe $1,000 or so to help them move. And then you get someone else in that property to assume the monthly payment, which helps then that person create some credit history if they don't have any, like someone who is maybe recently divorced. Probably a graduate, a recent grad, right? We just had graduation 2020. Many of those folks may have a lot of student loans and not have credit, but they want to become homeowners. Here is an opportunity to help them mitigate all of that, building their credit. They paid the mortgage at market or above for the rental rate, right? And it creates a spread for you. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but that's a really good way to become a problem solver for troubled property owners, to become a resource for lenders, and getting those houses to market, right? For folks to come in and lease them. Your leads funnel now for your realtor. So everyone is winning when you, pardon me, when you as the investor have the right strategy. It's a win, 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 right? It's a win, 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 win. So you want to do that. Now, here are a couple of ways that you get paid on something like that. So for the person who would be assuming that loan or would be a sublease for that property, you would require a down payment for them. That's the first way you get paid. As I mentioned already in the explanation, they would now lease that property at market or above, paying enough to cover the mortgage, and you get the balance of that, right? Unless you have a property management company, and that's another cost you want to figure in. But let's just say all of your costs are covered. So whatever is over and above that is profit in your pocket per month. So you just created a residual income vehicle for yourself on top of getting that non-refundable down payment. Finally, when that person is ready now to hopefully buy that property from you because you've moved the other property owner along, and now that person who is in there now is ready to refinance and become a homeowner, and you're likely going to sell that property at the current market rate. And we always expect that if the property is going to be sold in the future, it will be for a higher rate. So you can now sell that property, right, at a higher rate. And the difference there, depending on how you wrote your contract, and again, there are a lot of gaps in here that I'm not going over, but again, it's a strategy that we can discuss in detail when you get that pick your brain session. But the point is, you can also get paid at closing as well. So potentially, you can get paid 3 times on a property. You can get the down payment, you get the monthly spread, you get paid at closing, right? And so it's a way to, again, help folks who are troubled, help folks who want to get that monthly payment per month. That would be the lender. It's a way to help folks with leads. Those will be your realtors. It's a way to help folks get some credit history. That would be folks who have had some challenges in the past, for example, divorcees or college grads, etc. It's a win-win-win when you know how to create your own economy. Now, here is another opportunity I see emerging in the market. Now, it's a bit morbid. I will guarantee you that it's a bit morbid, but it is an opportunity nonetheless. It's business. So, the second opportunity is we're going to see the death toll climb. With COVID-19, we know that the populations that have been most adversely affected, per the scientists and the doctors, were the older population. Though now we're seeing where this disease is having an impact, a delayed impact on children. Another conversation. But what we're seeing again is folks who were already at risk are now, if they've contracted the disease, they're succumbing. That is creating inventory in the market that is off market. So here is the opportunity for you. You can start looking at zip codes for a certain demographic, a certain age group, and become a problem solver. Talk to realtors, talk to your REIA organizations, or you can just bypass all of that. Come to mommiescreatingeconomies.com and we can run those lists for you for specific zip codes that may be of interest to you. What this means is that there are going to be tax liens, tax deeds, and properties more than likely with no overhead on them, free and clear, that will become available because folks are going to either leave them because of death, unfortunately. The families don't want to become landlords, they don't want to inherit that property and become a landlord, so they'll be ready to get a really good cash offer and get rid of the property because they don't want the headache. Let's just say that they may live out of town. Maybe your family member lives in Florida and you live here in Texas. Well, if your family member passes away in Florida and you live in Texas, you don't want the responsibility of paying property taxes on that property. So you would sell it to somebody like me. Well, guess what? I also have access to lists in places like Florida where that may be of interest to you. So the point is that properties will become available off market, which means that you will be reducing your competition for that property. Once you rehab it and get it back to market, you can either flip it for a profit, or what I like to do is buy and hold. Create that portfolio where you get the residual income a month on that property, and you paid more than likely pennies on a dollar versus going to an auction, sitting there and watching the property bid further and further up. You bypass that entire process. You write that family member, you write that property owner, you find out who the heirs are, you negotiate the sale of that property, and you purchase it. And now you have hopefully a cash producing asset on hand. And if you're really good, you have equity already built into that property. Again, that's a whole nother conversation, but you could potentially take out the equity in that property and go and buy another property and multiply the process. So you can tell I get excited about all of that. So what I would do for you, if I were you, here's a tip. I would begin looking for those opportunities now. In the next 6 months, we're going to see those opportunities really go on the uptick because folks are going to, again, experience death in the family. Folks are going to be moving because of the economy and want to move to other places. And so those properties will become available, or they may be moving elderly family members in to better care for them. There's just going to be a lot of scenarios. Investment is all about problem solving. So when you find out where the problem is, that's where your profit is. Run to that, chase that, and then you profit by being a problem solver. So you can either do that or you can bypass that process altogether. Come to mommiescreatingeconomies.com, go to contact, send us your request for the list. We have pre-foreclosure lists nationwide, liens list nationwide, deeds list nationwide, auction list, vacant properties, and I think I've already mentioned pre-foreclosures. Yeah, but pre-foreclosure, tax liens, tax deeds, vacant properties. We can even show you who the cash buyers are in an area for you to partner with them on a deal. How valuable is that? So you don't have to run down someone. You can find someone investing in the area where you're interested. Tell them that you have a project you want to partner with them on. You know they're already interested because they're already investing in that area. Partner with them and get the property to closing, right? Win-win. So mommiescreatingeconomies.com, Mommies, mommiescreatingeconomies.com. Go to contact and hey, just send us a note saying we want that list or I want that list, and then we'll tell you how you can obtain those lists. But those are opportunities that are coming down the pike, and you want to position yourself to be one of those investors who can take full advantage of that. So, in closing, here are a few tips I want to leave with you. Get cash on hand. Get cash on hand. Look at your investments. If you can, pull the equity out of some of those investments now or out of a property. Get cash value from life insurance, 401ks, IRAs, HSAs, ESAs. There are a lot of acronyms there, right? Get the money where you can. If you don't have the money, but you have the credit, partner with someone and get some deals going. You really want to be positioned to fully occupy the space in investing. Get leads and begin developing your team now. If you need a mentor, if you need a strategist, if you need someone to just help guide you through the process, you can certainly go to mommiescreatingeconomies.com, click on services, look at the one that best fits your need. It would maybe the pick a brain on up, schedule that time. I would be happy to help you construct a strategy right for you and to help you move from contact to closing with that property. You'll need a set of good realtors. You'll need a team of really good realtors to get your properties to market. If you don't want to do that yourself, loan officer, attorneys, my God, please get a good attorney. If you need a referral, I have a few that I really, really trust and I'd be happy to refer them. Tax specialists familiar with real estate transactions, not just anyone who says, oh, yeah, I do taxes on the side. No. You want someone who is familiar with the investment process and they know how to record those transactions properly so that you are not in trouble with the IRS when you're recording your profits and your sales. Um, please do that properly. Also, develop the right paperwork. Make sure that your business structures are in place. Your LLCs, your LLPs, your agreements, your contracts. Make sure all of your paperwork is together. I would also recommend that you develop a list of power investors. And again, if you need a list of cash investors for those zip codes that you're interested in, we can develop that list for you at mommiescreatingeconomies.com. Go to contact, tell us which list you want. We'll construct that for you. I would get a list of investors now. Also, go and have those conversations right quick with your banks and with your lenders. Let them know that you're gearing up to start buying in bulk and whatever paperwork they need on file now, Do it now. Don't wait until you have an opportunity and then you have to backtrack and get that paperwork turned in, and it delays your process. Real estate is a time sensitive occupation. When the opportunity is there, you have to move, and you have to move quickly, or you could potentially miss a really good investment and a really good opportunity. Get that done now while we have a bit of downtime. Begin interviewing property management professionals. You will hear me say time and time again, I love buying whole real estate, but we are not in the business of property management. We are in the business of business development. We're here to create our own economies, not fix toilets. So you want to invest in a really good property management company to help you with that so that you can leverage your time best. And great contractors, they they're hard to come by, but when you get some good contractors, hold on to them and keep them working. If I were you, I would reach out to contractors now. Many of them may not be working because of the stay-at-home orders, and they're ready to get back to work. So perhaps you could barter with them. If they do the work for you and not get paid now, they could potentially become a partner and get paid on the back end. So that's a way to create an opportunity to get that property rehabbed, get it rented, and then get that contractor paid at the end of the deal. Make sure that you have exit strategies, ladies and gentlemen. Don't buy these properties and not know what you're going to do with them. Have your entry strategy and your exit strategy up front. Know what the plan is and work the plan. Don't deviate from it. And finally, we should be looking towards 2021. Don't get bogged down in what's happening now. Markets are cyclical. They're going to go up, they're going to go down. We're going to see some movement here, but you should be already thinking about what are the profits going to look like. What will your portfolio look like in 2021? That's what business owners do. That's what visionaries do, ladies and gentlemen. Be thinking ahead. Don't just get bogged down in the minutia of what's happening now. So that brings us to a close. That was a lot. We're about at 32 minutes. Few closing things. If you have not already, join Mommies Creating Economies. I am all about cooperative economics. It is a core value of the organization. And because I believe so strongly in cooperative economics, we are profit sharing. So you have the opportunity to earn a commission for every paid membership that you refer. You will earn a commission on that. Go to mommiescreatingeconomies.com, click on home, scroll down to MCM memberships. The information is there. If you have not already and you're a business, reserve a business spotlight or become a corporate sponsor. Those are huge benefits right now. And if you want that information, reach out to us. We'll get that to you. RSVP for Mogul Mommy Monday meetups. Say that real fast. All right. Those are another wonderful opportunity to connect. If you have not already, go ahead, subscribe to mommiescreatingeconomies.com and to our Facebook page. We are building a community there. Go there and like it, share it, and subscribe to it. That leads into my announcement about Tuesdays, Tips Tuesdays. This was the first one that I've hosted, but every Tuesday, I want you to go to Mommies Creating Economies. Log on to our Facebook page and post your tip or your strategy. We really want to create dialogue and value for the community. I don't have all the answers, but I know all of you brilliant people, if we all put our heads together, we will come up with some phenomenal ideas to help move our portfolios and our profits forward. So take advantage of that. Post every Tuesday, Mommies Creating Economies on Facebook, your tip or your strategy to help add value to the community. And in closing, if you have not already, go to our resource center, mommiescreatingeconomies.com. Click on Mogul U and go to online bookstore. There are some ebooks there that can help move your learning curve ahead. We are in the process of editing many of our materials, and we will have those updated and loaded soon. But for now, go to Mommies Creating Economies, get those resources, and begin moving your learning curve ahead, right? Don't don't lose this downtime. I guess that's the point I want to make to you. Don't lose this downtime. Use it wisely. And the best thing I can advise you to do is go and get those resources and get ready to launch, because things will turn around shortly. That brings Tips Tuesdays to a close. I hope you've gotten information that will help move you forward. If you have questions, you can schedule a quick phone call with me. Go to mommiescreatingeconomies.com, click on the free consultation, and that's really meant just to connect dots, right? It's just meant to answer some questions that you may have about the industry or about a strategy that you're already developing. If you are ready now to develop a comprehensive strategy for you, you're ready to invest. That is the Pick Her Brain session and up. So I would encourage you to schedule that session and we will get you moving. That brings Tips Tuesdays to a close. Thank you so much for tuning in. Drop your comments, like, and share this video, and we'll be back soon. All right? You can create your own economy. This is Chairidee Smith, Ms.Mogul, the founder of Mommies Creating Economies. Bye bye for now.